So, today we had our first visit to the old people's home in Benoni to meet the grannies and the carers. Before we got there, we had been briefed that there was a racial divide between the white elders and the black carers in the home, with the elders being often aggressive towards the carers. We believe that this had ultimately stemmed from the apartheid, when Lennon Thompson describes that black people, however able, were subordinate to white people, however feeble. Bearing this in mind, we had decided to base all of our research on this, and have created certain workshop structures that would help address this situation. From our first week here, I've already been able to see that the black South Africans are much more open to disclosing the information in more sociable places, such as the local shebeens, places that also happen to be run by people of their own race. So, we decided to use this ideal to our advantage, and as a group decided that Matilda, Clocks and AJ should talk to the carers, whilst Nabila, Vanessa and I would talk to the elders on our first visit. Whilst this could have created an even bigger divide, we agreed that it would be the best thing for getting their feelings out of them. However, when we arrived at the home, the racial divide that had been built up to us did not seem to be apparent at all, and in fact there seemed to be a very friendly relationship between the elders and the carers, meaning that our aim and plan was now actually irrelevant for the context we were going to be working in.
Very apparent that all the kitchen staff and carers are black, whereas all the management staff and kind of staff in high positions are white. But one thing that's really interesting is that today Kim disclosed how all of the staff have expressed or explained how they've received some sort of physical abuse. So from that point, it doesn't really seem that the elders are directly abusing the carers because of their race. And we found a quote from Crimson that kind of really put our project into perspective. It says, "Often behaviours seen as challenging, such as a wandering or aggressive outburst, have their origin in boredom." And this kind of really made us rethink our original aim, which was to address the racial divide in the care home. I think one thing that we're finding is that race in South Africa is like an underlying issue. You'll hear it on the radio, you hear it on the news. And it's kind of almost like it's accepted by South Africans. So I think in order for us to gauge kind of a better understanding of that, we would have to be here for longer. From this, we decided to kind of make our next aim about exploring relationships. And this, we thought we'd be able to kind of, if that's the direction that the elders want to take it in terms of discussing race, then that's where we'll go. But one thing that we found is that the lounge is a very antisocial place. All the chairs face back to back, so none of the elders can actually see each other. So in order for us to kind of create this environment in which both the elders and carers want to talk, we feel we need to kind of make it a more sociable and friendly place. So this is the kind of aim that we've placed as our top priority.
Amazing rapport with the grannies, the nurses, and the carers and the people in admin as well. So yeah, the group has done really well in terms of that. And we're also revisiting our aims for the project. It turns out that it's very, very difficult for us to actually discuss race because we've realized that discussing race works totally differently than it does in England. In England, I think people are more reserved about speaking about it, but here you listen to it on the radio, you listen to it in people's conversations, but then when it comes to getting individuals to specifically disclose to you how they feel about race, it's still a very difficult thing to get out of a person. So when we do approach race, we want to do it in the right way, and we're thinking about changing our aim in order to achieve our first aim. So right now we're just looking at trying to make the lounge a more sociable place. One of the reasons why we're choosing to focus on the grannies is because the carers are so busy, the kitchen staff are so busy that we hardly get a moment to actually speak to them and do some activities with them. So we're focusing on the grannies, and the reason why we're doing that is we're drawing from the quote that Matilda mentioned in her blog about some of the aggression and some of the anger being caused by boredom. They really don't have anything to do, and so yes, we're basically looking at either process or product, and at the moment the group is really looking at a process-based kind of approach. He's got basically this says that a change must happen. Also, there needs to be an interaction of people and forces. And lastly, those forces and people need to be given a framework in which they can negotiate their own change and their own interaction. So our job is to provide the framework. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to basically come up with themes for different days of the week. And then we basically look at what it is that the participants are willing to contribute and to give to those particular themes in order for them to negotiate their own change.
Though we decided to focus on the process aspect of our project, we added performative bits to it to make it more exciting and engaging. Following on from last week, where we did story creation through writing poems, we pushed further to include puppetry, dance, and music elements to explore the topics of difference, loss, race, and conflict. In puppetry, Matilda and I based our drama activities called The Island, where we raised the topic of difference. The performance was how Matilda and I were telling the story through our puppets. We looked at physical characteristics of one and how others receive and perceive one negatively, and how these negative characteristics could be seen as positive. Everyone created a sock puppet, and these puppets were part of the meaningful discussions that were taking place. The puppets were means to create a safe space to allow participants to talk about a sensitive topic which we felt we could not breach face to face. And looking at the topic of loss, Jordan and AJ did an adaptation of the story The Seal Wife, where they did a pantomime-like performance to give a dramatic feel to it, and the elders responded very well. The process of having a treasure hunt was carried out to give a sense of adventure and of belonging towards a task that needed their contribution. It also allowed the elders to go beyond their comfort zone by actually going out and about to do the task, something very different to their daily activities. The idea of having a balloon released into the air to commemorate something or someone who they have lost also gave the elders the time to stay in touch and share with us something dear to them. Vanessa and Cloxus based their session around forum theatre to raise the topic of race and conflict. The process of foruming gave the elders the time to critically be involved in something that needed their input to solve the problem. This gave us an insight on their take on the topic. We were quite surprised at how well they responded. We managed to overcome a great challenge where the 6 of us were planning workshops together. It was difficult to brainstorm as a group, as there were times when we had conflicting ideas and there was uncertainty and lack of clarity in our lesson plans. Seeing this, in order to maximize our facilitation and planning skills effectively, we paired ourselves to lead sessions. We also had to be careful in choosing appropriate activities that would be suitable for the elders, in that we had to tone down a lot of high-energy drama games and activities. It was beyond our ability to assist elders who suffer from dementia in recalling our activities from the previous day. We retold stories and brought familiar objects and resources from the day to return to them.
So, when working with the grannies, memory is a big issue, and this affected our outcome and sustainability. Well,
We decided to focus on process instead of performance to allow the participants to get as much out of our project as possible. Today was our last session, which went really well. So towards the end, instead of rounding up in a performance as such, we allowed the participants to create a painting montage to represent our time at the home. This display would contribute to our sustainability as a trigger of memory. As Heathcote states in Mantle of the Expert, drama is about making significant meaning. And I believe for the meaning to be significant, the process must be sustained beyond our time there. To aid this, we have made goodie packs, which include all the work that we've done at the home, from poems to stories to puppets, along with a tag saying how we've enjoyed our time there and we hope they have too. We have also made a teacher's pack to give to the carers, which includes over 20 activities that they can do with the grannies. They really loved our work there, however due to time and work constraints, I'm doubtful as to whether they'll be used by them. But within our group of grannies, we have many stars that may shine and run a session in the future.
Well, actually I had challenges trying to adjust, having to work with the group. One, because I had to adjust myself from what I know and from what you know and try and see where we can meet. And also what I can say is another challenge for me was the fact that I had two projects running concurrently, and that alone created a rather heavy challenge. I feel all of the group members really worked hard in accommodating me and having to pull me through in everything that we were doing, and everyone invested equal amount of time in making sure that I understand and I follow with the project and with the program in as far as planning is concerned. The timing, I'll change the timing because now the timing came when I was putting together a show for the June 16th celebration. That I would change, and also the time, I don't know whether it is financially or what, but then I'll rather stretch the project to be a month or 2 months so that we work more. And also another thing that I'll change is I'll rather have us doing a play that we take to wherever we perform once, because I feel we teach, but then there's less time of us performing. I really enjoyed working on the project, especially with the group. I've learned a lot from all the individuals within the group, and that alone really made me feel at home, really opened my way of thinking, really opened my understanding as a facilitator, and also having to work with facilitators from abroad. It really helped me a lot.
The jamming session and a few kind of sessions with the orchestra, I think that really helps include you in the kind of general life of Sibikwa and helped you understand what people at Sibikwa are about and how they work and what their approach is. I think they were very welcoming to you in those spaces, and I think you really responded to that in a positive way. I think it maybe took a while for you to get used to working with Nolo for reasons, just about adapting, and for him to also understand what the project was about and what the way of working was about. But I think ultimately you worked really positively. I think you met your revisited aim in terms of improving relationships and making the lounge a happier space. I think that considering how short the project was, I actually thought you made really good progress towards that aim. I think you really did make a difference. I think that there was really a discernible difference from when you arrived in the beginning to when you left, and that was definitely in line with what your aim was. The kind of gradual increasing engagement of the grannies who actually weren't in the workshop itself, to how much they were smiling and listening and offering ideas, even occasionally offering the words to songs, just how they were increasingly more approving, I guess, of what you were doing, was having that kind of engagement. And also a good thing about doing it in the lounge, to allow people to sort of watch and participate as they felt. In terms of the actual grannies themselves, the grannies who were in your group, as the workshops continued, I think you became more and more adept at reaching each of them in the way that worked for individual. Working in this particular context, focus on the individual is so crucial. Really got better at including everybody. I think in the beginning it was difficult for you to keep thinking of whether everybody is on the same page, whether everybody has heard you, whether everybody's seen you, whether everybody understands. And you just got really much better at that, much more supportive of each other. But the grannies became much more responsive, much quicker. And I think there were some really, really special developments in the responses of the grannies in terms of deepening relationships. I mean, I remember you, Vanessa. Daphne didn't remember you at all from the first visit, but she did remember you as time progressed, you know, as you came regularly, as you connected to her regularly, of improved interactions and increased depth of interaction. I think is memory is that all of that was increased over the time, that the grannies became more and more responsive. As you learned how to communicate with them better, as they trusted you more. So the time that you invested in getting to know them individually really paid off.
Yes, it was beautiful. We really loved it. Oh, of course I did. I certainly did. I was there every day. Oh, a mixture of everything, you know, you sort of, you had to mix up with everybody, and we so enjoyed having everybody with us. Yeah, the project was really nice. I think it was good. I think I enjoyed your ballet dancing.
Did you?
Dancing. Yes, other show where the lady came with her music.
Miss Joy.
When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Hey, Sarah, Sarah, hey, Sarah, Sarah, hey, Sarah, Sarah.
Do you want to let yours go?
Will be, the future's not ours.
You ready? So when you're ready, you let go.
Hey, Sarah, Sarah, whatever will be, the future's not ours.